is sacred to me. This hour is very, very important to me. It's close to my heart because as a light worker, my duty is I have a message, and I'm not because I want to talk. No, I know that I have a message. I have a message because the good book said, He comforted us that we may comfort others. And I've been prohibited not to speak things that I don't practice, that has not enriched me, empowered me, that have not elevated me, that have not expanded me, that I don't utilize on a daily basis to find fulfillment and satisfaction and find freedom, where I ascend a bit of the normal. So that is why it's sacred, that is why it's a duty, that is why I give in my whole being to it, to find fulfillment in this essential work. As a light worker, I have a message, and I'm also a healer. Did you say it's a healer? Yes. When I bring comfort to your heart and you encounter enlightenment, and that enlightenment brings transformation and causes a change, and you become a new being, and you are elevated in your consciousness, elevated in your thought patterns and all that, and you find freedom then and find that liberty. I've done my work. So I have a message, and my message is based on the good news. It's based on hope, it's based on elevation, it's based on increase and expansion of the self, based on the fact that greater is He that is in us, is to be able to unlock and enrich, be able to empower you and infuse you with new insights that can provoke a talk. I'm also an enlightener. An enlightener means that you bring light. You bring light. So this is what we call light ascenders. Light ascenders are people who has been gifted or graced to become a light, to carry the light, the burden of people, to lighten it, to lift them out from where they are to where they should be. We also this is a place of transformation, a place of transformation where we consistently evolve, where we consistently metamorphose, where we consistently change, because you cannot advance until there's a transformation within you. And transformation is such pivotal in what we do. If you're not transforming, you are not increasing, you are not expanding, you are just rotating. Until you become a new person, then you cannot have a new experience. You cannot have a new order in your life. You cannot have a new liberty. You cannot have a new expansion. And so what it means directly is that the more we stay here, the more we find ourselves in that place of transformation, in that place where we have new personality, where we adopt our new self, where we find betterment and a richer and empowered life. And then this is where there's possibility. Whatever that we are going to be considering, whatever thought we're going to bring in, is because it's possible to experiment them, explore them, expand them, and be able to express them. So I have this concept about, first and foremost, exploration. So we have an open mind, a flexible mind, where we constantly explore the world, because those that do know their God will do exploit. That means they will explore, they will go deep, they will dive deep, not on the shallow place. We're going to be talking about the shallow mind. And the more you go into the place of possibility, you find out that you're moving from the finite place to the infinite place. You're moving deeper from the shallow place to the depth. And it's in the depths, when we talk about the depths, that's where the real life is. Once you are not in depths, you are in shallow ground, then it's quite difficult for you to move. This is a place of cleansing. This is what it means. It means I have cleansed my my mind that has been occupied, my mind that has been rigid by experiences, my mind that is clinging and attaching to old ideas, old concepts, and old belief. And this is the more it's clear, the more we are transformed, you realize that you become lighter, and the more you become lighter, you will introduce you to the place of ease and the place of grace and the place of light. When people say they are in a place of grace, I always tell them there are two kinds of grace. The first grace is what we call, the universal grace, the sovereign grace. So you are under the goodness of divine, of God, whatever you refer to. It means that you are under influence because out of Him is goodness, out of Him is unending love, and because He's unending love, He is the divine will be kind to you. But there's what I call activated grace. Activated grace is a different nature. So there's a story that was told about an event that happened. So there's this particular gentleman who was a seer, so he could see what happened in the bedchamber of a king. And this king really had gone to send some people on an errand. And this seer saw it and interceded. And the king demanded that the guy be arrested because he sent a captain. And the captain got in there and commanded this seer. And this seer, because it's a law of mirror, that's what you have activated. So they activated a force and they encounter force. So the seer got flow in their frequency, flow in the orbit of their vibration and in their same energy, and return back fire and consume the captain and his cohort. Another guy say, who is this civilian, for instance, that will refuse to be arrested? Came up with his own regiment, his own 50 bodyguards and all that, to force the guy as well to join them. Don't forget, they have activated a certain energy, and that energy is what returns back to you. So be careful, because there's always law of balance. Law of balance is powerful because it's what you give in versus what comes in. So eventually the third guy who they sent, understood the principle of deliberate creation. And so when we talk about deliberate creation, we bring you life experiences to show you are creating your reality. And so this guy now came with the same number of people, but did a different thing. He activated a divine grace. What did he do? By being kind and respectful and deployed negotiation. You see, as soon as he stepped down and tuned into a different frequency, he was orbiting in a different vibration. And of course, the energy was quite different. And this was a higher energy. The other people were in lower energy. So predominantly what happened, this gentleman was saved. And eventually this seer followed him, because he was unafraid. You see how the dimension changed. So this is why when you are in ignorant, this is where suffer comes in. Because when we do not align and sync our thoughts, actions, and perspective and everything, we realize that we are on that sovereign grace. But I want to live in activated grace, where I am mindful to co-create with the divine. Of course, aligning it to spiritual laws, natural laws, and all the human laws. And that's where this corner is quite unique, because we don't just talk, we bring you practical steps, we bring you livable words that you can experiment. And this is what I want us to do here in this corner. I like when I get into the washroom, and especially where in the washroom there is no warm water or hot water. Now, what do? The reality is I've accepted it radical, what we call radical acceptance, that I'm not going to complain, I'm not going to mourn. This is what is available, and I'm in harmony with what it's, because I don't fight the current, I flow with the current. And the moment you fight the current, you can't win. That's why I say don't fight life. The more you fight life, the more you can't beat life. Life is bigger than you. Unless you are in sync with life, until you realize that you are life. That's why I say you are essence, you are meaning, and you're being. So what I do is I experiment it. I first of all drop my leg on the cold water as I drop my feet, and I keep trying it gradually. It keep immersing. As I immerse myself into that water, I realize that before you know it, you just glide into that cold water. Why? That's exploration. And that's how I'm challenging people. We know a lot. We don't become what we know. We have so much fact. We have so much knowledge. But the difference is, what are you doing with the knowledge that you have? What are you doing with the knowledge you have? As long as you have all these mass of knowledge without utilization, without implementation, without becoming those words, it means nothing. And so that's the difference between the achievers and the non-achievers. The people who are suffering and the people who are not suffering. The people who you term like significant or successful, what the difference is that they are embodiment. They have decided to anchor within everything around them, anchored on the knowledge that they have, because they explore it, they experiment it, they are open to utilization. And once they can utilize it, you begin to find out that they begin to function. And when they function, they become that world. Then they marveled, and the wonders and the miracles of the world begin to transform, because they have become the world. So I played with us that, we hear. We entertain ourselves. But can we be users of the word we hear? Can we be users? And I want to sound it completely that wherever you are creating it. No matter how you want to rationalize it, no matter how you want to reason it, your current burden is created by your perception of that reality at the moment. A change in perspective will introduce a different relationship with that. Your relationship is a function of your perception. And once that perception is corrupted, the entire process is corrupted. That's why to the pure, all things are pure. Whatever current situation that you are, what you are experiencing now, how you are relating with it now, how you're describing it, is funded directly, is influenced by the perception. And the perception is as a function of the condition of your heart, which, whether you're living from your heart or you're living from your head. I read something recently. There's what I call the heart intelligence of emotion. Heart intelligence of emotion. So you see, when your emotions are on the lower frequency, on the lower energy, when you're angry, when you're irritated, when you're frustrated, when you feel that you're worthless and all that. Now it is your constructed mind. You're operating from the logic of your mind. You're operating from the condition of your mind. The state of your mind will influence your perspective. So if you change perspective, you change the entire process. And now perspective, I keep breaking it down. What you're suffering is a function of the thought. So a certain event happened recently, and my thought was influenced by the state of my mind at that moment. And the state of my mind at that moment was a place of pleasantness. And while that people were seeing loss or diminishing, instantly from the place of pleasantness, I just said there's a wisdom from this event, and it's so empowering and so enriching. Others that were in a depressed situation at that moment could not see what I was saying, and I was almost alone. Why? My pleasant moment had influenced the perspective with which I perceive that condition. And as usual, people think, oh, Patrick, you have it all, so you are thinking like a what they call big man, and I don't know what that means. Well, human being, because you see, good book said, man born of a woman is of a few days, but full of trouble. But my case is different. That distinction is influenced by the condition of my heart. So what it means to have an intelligent emotion from the heart is when you take a pause and become aware the triggers and what trigger emotions, whether you hate or whether you love, whether you're frustrated or whether you're embracing. Now, so when you get from that point, because the heart is the heart of the center of the heart, because that's where we issued life. Every time you are triggered, it runs through your mental construction or your mental energies. Anytime you're triggered, if you check about trigger is usually, good evening, Faith. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. I hope this makes sense. Share the link, invite other people. We live most of the time from our mind. Every time you are triggered, you're always triggered from your mind. But every time there's confidence and clarity, there is such a belief system that energizes you, empowers you to respond. You're living from your heart. And you realize that the energetic blueprint with which your heart connects, if you watch it, it is more relaxed, it's calming, it's gentle, it's joyful, it's pleasant, it's good. Now it can now issue a constructive command. But when your mind they trigger in destructive mode. And that's why we're bringing people to such a great awareness. So because when you bring awareness into your life and bring a burning presence, you realize that your actions and your expressions begin to change. So your perspective is a function of the condition of your heart. So if you are not in a good condition at that moment, don't define a situation. You're likely going to be influenced and colored by that situation. You see, when we talk about input output, people have not really taken time. That's why we want to go deep today, to realize that what we talk about, the gift of discomfort, is a function of untrained mind. By the time you train your mind as a tool for creativity and expression, it will no longer a tool of engagement and oppression. So our mind oppresses us and influences our perception of things. That's why you see the mind that is afraid, the state of mind that is in low estate and has been abused before, will create fear. That's a trigger because it sees similarity, so it will trigger remembrance. The word is so powerful. I think I read something recently. It said, when you recall kindness and lovable moment, it infuses a dynamic explosion. But when you recall your experience, it diminishes your potential. I love to read. I love to expand. I invite us to deep work, the inner work. What it does is you are aware. When you become aware, you find out your triggers, whether you function from your mind or whether your mind is using you or your heart is influencing you. So the condition of your heart, your mind will affect your perspective, your thought, and I was in a certain place, and all they were discussing was everything is pricey. That's what I was just hearing from all of them. And I'm wondering, do they realize that their word creates their experiences, and it is a source of their manifestation, is the source of their experiences? And as they are watching, and I'm wondering, what is in their mind that is influencing this perception, that has affected their thought, which eventually shaped their belief that these things are pricey, and has created an emotion of dislike or emotion of weakness. When I go back, when I interview them, I realize that they have not opened up their mind that things changes. So it means that prices also changes. And it's just something we need to come that nothing is the same. So the fleeting of your mind, and it's a function because we are weak, we are helpless, we are fearful, and incidentally we operate from the place of lack rather than the place of abundance. So when we talk about abundant mind form, we talk about scarcity mind form, you realize that the state where you are will influence your perception about things, which now will induce and put pressure in your thought patterns. As a man thinketh, so he is. So we are being careful here to bring these things in small measures so that you understand on a daily basis how your life is shaped, how your reality is created. Your reality is a function of the state of your mind, the condition of your mind. Because now, the mind will now create an energetic blueprint, become the gateway of influence that pretend and condition your perception. Why am I laying this? It's time for us to sometimes pause, still, chill, challenge certain things, especially challenge how we see things. We talked about it a long time. You must learn to be multiple dimensional, where you have perception, like you are not just going to say it's like this. No, what if it's like this? What if it's like this? What if I succeed? What if I don't succeed? What if this is the moment I have to go down and there's another moment I have to go up? So when you have this flexible mind, you're not attached to a certain outcome or predetermined like this is how things should be, which is really where the problem starts. So I'm saying challenge your perception. Challenge your belief system. Challenge your thought process. So today, we're continuing the gift of discomfort. Why do I take time to lay foundation? Because I can come and talk about the gift of discomfort. It's not easy until you find the foundation. Until we get the foundation, the rudiment, what is, it's like the building block to this higher perspective. And this is higher thought. This is higher life. This is higher life. And you cannot see better until you change the level where you are. Same level, same experiences, same level, same outcome, same level, self-oppression, same level, self-attainment in a cycle. That's why I say, come hither, and I might show you what is to come. So we're inviting you to a higher life of goodness. In fact, our natural state, we have said it times without number, it is love and goodness. When your mind has been saturated now and reconditioned and retuned into love. I mean, today I was finding expression. And the more I started expression, I think I was a bit high in my thought process. I started using language that I didn't use. I was so conscious that I'm outside my orbit. I was conscious around it. And what happened is that I have heightened emotion. That means I was from my head. This is how what we call intense awareness, because you are aware when you shift from that natural state of love and goodness. It's just uncomfortable physically. You start having migraine. That's when you know you have shifted out of your natural state. If you can practice every day, you said, my natural state, the natural state of my mind is love and goodness. The natural state of my mind is love and goodness. The natural state of my mind is love and goodness. The natural state of my mind is love and goodness. Just practice, explore it. When you want to react, say reaction is a tool of the incompetent. Reaction is the tool of the incompetent. Response is the natural state of the observers. Response is the natural state of observers. What it means that you're observing with an intention, not to be triggered with a reaction. These are deep words. These are deep words. I want to be responsible. I want to use that faculty, that my faculty is streaming from my natural state of the mind that has been reconstructed and re-engineered and infused with that fundamental of love and goodness. I'm practicing it. Missed my flight. I'm defining it from my natural state of love and goodness. Oh, abuse me, it's okay. Disappoint me, natural good, natural funded by good and love. And the more you practice it, you now begin to influence how you see things. That's a perception. Because there's always good hidden in what we call bad. They coexist. They are intertwined. That's what we call the duality of life. The light and darkness. How do you maximize them? And so, but I can to tell you that pain is part of life. If you don't find your pain will find you. If you don't choose your pain, if you don't mobilize your pain will mobilize you. So wise people will consistently choose their pain part in order to create that pleasure part. If you don't choose your pain part, you can't create your pleasure part. If you are ever seeker of pleasure, soft life, sorry. Soft life will diminish you. So great people will choose their pain in order to install their pleasure. But if you choose pleasure and pleasure seeker, trust me, you will go down. It's just natural. The more, if I get into a space and I hear that they are free food, I'm always careful to find out my responsibility over there. But people who are drawn by the freeness are always trapped. And that's why I see, how do programmers trap us? They'll first give us a free copy. Behind that free copy, they will now tell you, you have used it, what happened? If you are not seeking for the pain part in that, you will be trapped as a slave, because you're always looking for the free part, and that free part is shallow part. That's what I'm driving. Most times, free things are in shallow level. To get into deep, that's why in relationship, if you are a taker in relationship, what happens is that you are in a shallow part. You can't get the depth. We say if you take yourself out. If you contribute yourself in. The more you find yourself in people's hearts, the more they retain you in your heart. And it takes impact. It takes impact to get impacted in people's life in order for them to retain you in your heart. So the pain part of relationship is to find out your responsibility in that community, in that involvement. That's why if you get some people who are always give me, not understanding the importance of them giving back, which is the pain part of it. If you're in a relationship that they are giving you out, it won't be too long you lose that relationship, because it's not a natural flow. And that's have you noticed one of the things that kill most economy is when they begin to excessively give their citizens paycheck without work. What am I working? And number one, you see, so they don't exercise their creativity, because creativity is come from fire. We have said that a candle cannot light. The brilliance of candle cannot be imparted or be impactful unless there's a light, a burn. That's why you see gold pass through the fire. Diamonds are created out of pressure. Crude oil, it comes through a pressurized pipe. So the first thing is that you need to find your pressurized part in order to bring your potential. It's that pressurized part that one should look out for in life. If you look for the easy way out, easy come, easy go. I'm taking time to think about it. That's why you see most of us who has gone through fire in life, we're fired up, become unafraid. The construction of our mind was completely forged in the furnace of affliction and anguish. Some of us who shame have shaped into a constructed character content. It came through the pen part. Some of us have suffered relationship, become rake in relationship. Now we are so mindful now. Why? We know the consequence of breakup. Some of us who had trekked know the compassion of people trekking. Some of us who were old, I can't forget when they owed us salary for 6 months. And I was so uncomfortable because I had read it from the good book, thou shalt not muzzle the ox that tread the corn. And I said, not under my watch. And that invented a new energy and inspiration to go beyond the ordinary, to look out for solution to reverse the trend. I was employed, but I vow at that moment that it cannot be heard that they owe us salary again, that this paradigm must change. There must be a shift in consciousness. And my faith was tripled. And I started exploring methodologies, ways, legally to ensure that I reverse the trend. It's not too long. We got a contract, a 2 year contract. Because you see, when you are on fire, your creativity is activated. Your potential is expanded. That's what they call the expanded self. You can't be expanded in cold weather. It congeals. But when you put on that fire, you will realize that your expanded self begin to take shape. That's why I say metal has to go through the blast of furnace in order to be forged. And that's when they become light. That's what they call the light of grace. I'm excited about this. So when I look at people who are looking for easy way out and not looking the pain part, shallow. And that's where we're going to start. You see, for the fact that you didn't recognize that discomfort is a gift of expansion is because you are a shallow mind. And let's say the truth. I've been in home. Where I see my siblings not taking the hard part. They will laugh at you because they will think that you're reading. They see you read. They see you organize yourself. They see you go extra mile for the family. They see you go, but they see progression because pain is progressive. Pain is progressive. Pleasure is decaying. And that's why you see people get money. They do not have the pain structure and system and strategy to create a flow that is sustainable because they got it. They didn't create it. And when they lose it, they're afraid. But when you are in pain part and you lose money, you recreate money. You're unafraid because we came from nothingness. And now we deploy all our creative ability because you see, there's a particular gentleman who took over a corporation, and this corporation was going to get bankrupt. So he wasn't such a professor, but he just had 3 things. He understood giftings of pain. He understood it. He understood effort. And now what happened? He understood mentality. So these 3 things, when you talk about the gift of pain, when you talk about the effort that is influenced by the gift of pain, you will see it gives you a successful mentality, an expandable mentality, a sustainable mentality, a solidified mentality that is unafraid, that has grit and determination. The velocity of the texture of that mentality can drive past the wall because see, it has been forged with tenacity and doggedness. I'm excited about this. So when you have shallow mind, what it means is that your depth of character, because you see, go and check people who are disciplined and check people who are undisciplined. The difference is that they understand the pain of forging their character because it's a depth And once you have that depth, it changes. You know, when you talk about people owing people, when you owe people, I say, is it because of you are shallow? I've been old and I understand how. And you know, I'm not perfect around it, but to owe people, no. So the shallowness of your mind construct will influences your perception. The mind, if not deeply and consciously retrained and guided, the mind must be guided, otherwise it will guide you. And that's why people live in habit. That's why we live in sameness. And when you live in habit, it means you are unguided. You have an unguided mind. Time is going. Unguided mind. Untrained mind. You need to train the faculty of your mind. The mind, if not deeply and consciously retrained and guided, could be shallow and lacking in understanding of truth, principle, and life. I dealt with what I call the truth. Don't seek for solutions, seek the truth. Find principles of life. Find the belief that align to truth and principles. Anchor your actions, anchor your emotion, anchor your beliefs, anchor your thought, anchor your perception through these truths. See life from the pen of truth. When I go into a city, a home, and see the arrangement of the house, I will know whether they are in painful state or in a pleasurable state. When I get into your kitchen, I will know whether you have the pen of order to wash your plate and align them into cleanliness. When I go into the closet of a man, I will see the arrangement of his shoes and stockings and all that. When I see the book arranged neatly without some level of disorder, we will know whether there's a pen of reading or there's a pleasure of display. The greater part of our life is spent in becoming someone different. You got to be different completely. I'm different. I went somewhere where I went for my evangelism, and I was talking to a homeless place, and when I was telling them, I said, it's God, until you become enough, you wake up and say, I'm more than enough. It didn't sink, but the more they practiced, they started feeling, for the first time in life, they retrained themselves, and I could see they became, at that moment, they had transformed from their old self to their new self, because there's a transformation, there's an enlightenment that has just come over them, and are working them from who they used to be. Now they are more than enough. And it took the pen of confession, it took the pen to remind yourself, even in the face of odds, and say, I am more than enough. So, you see, our inability not to believe our ability is from a shallow mind. When your estimation of yourself has not come to a certain level, you have always been seeking for the soft level, because you lack the tenacity to read, you lack the tenacity to burn candle, you lack the tenacity to research, you lack the tenacity to even to apply what you have, because application is like a force over your mental world to adapt the new reality. By nature, we settle for being shallow by default. We become depthless, superficial being. We hardly see beyond the surface. Superficial relationships is because they don't look at the pen of relationship. When relationship break, go and check. What they are seeking for is the surface. And surfaces are manifestation, expressions, are happenstance. But you see, the real thing are not the effect. The real thing are the cause to the effect. What sustains relationship is pain. What sustains your job is pain. What sustains your life, whether it's going to be healthy, whether it's going to be beautiful, is the pain of conscious taking care of your body. Depth is intensity. Depth is painfully learning. Just as holes are dogged, so when you have not seen discomfort as an agent of empowerment, of enrichment, as a lover, as a trainer, as a motivator, as what inspired you, then you're not digging holes. And you got to dig holes in your life. We got to find holes. Those painful holes are the thing that takes you like an absorbers. The shock absorbers I have is how you have militarized your mind. Holes are painful. I got holes all over my body. I think in the Japanese place, when something break, they will instead of going to throw it away, they use a gold plate, and that means I have gone through hole, and that means I understand. If you understand these, it changes your finance. Your struggle in your finance is as a lack of the duty of finance, because people want to have money without the duty of money. The money is a function, respond to the duty. The duty we call the duty effect is the duty effect that that will causes the flow of money. I mean, I was navigating in between cities. Was in no countries, and in 45 minutes I was having meetings, and these were people from different regions, and I mean, I was to catch a flight. I was the last person that entered into that flight, and somebody would think that he's on pleasure. No, you can't carry the painful meetings, in between meetings, transition between meetings. I mean, I recall that one of the my institute, we were having a meeting, and I was right inside the aeroplane, connected. That's what we call, but the pain of discipline. I don't want to live a shallow life. There's no transformation in. See, if your life is good, I applaud you. Continue, but I can tell you. What will expand you is not good, it's bad. What will take a bad, and that's pain. And I think that's why most regions are not developing. They're not developing. And when this development is painful, because there's a quality of thought. There's a quality of discipline and time, and there are things you have to let go in order to develop. If you see a house that their parents were leisurely inspired, influenced, you will see lack of school fees. You say, oh, so nobody came out of this. I'm not saying don't enjoy, but it takes pain to create for the next generation. There are things I'm doing now, I'm not supposed to do it. Honestly, why am I doing? It's for the next generation. And that's why sometimes when I look at people who cannot understand how to reproduce something quality that we haven't to them. You see, average life, because why? Chop. What is that? What is it? My father's company? They will never own a company. Never. Because the scripture said, if you're not faithful in that which another man, how will God give you your own? If I have comment, please drop your comment. Drop your question. Let's explore this. When you see people obeyed, go and check. Go and check people who are owing excessive debt. I'm not talking about you do business naturally and it they didn't pay you or something, disaster happened and all that. If you understand the power of pain, you can reproduce it. That's why he said, he confidently say, break this, pull down this temple in 3 days. I will raise it. Kai, this is the way our thoughts should be. We're so unafraid to lose, because losing is part of the game. Hey, losing is part of the game. I've lost so much. In fact, the first 50,000 that I ever saved, I lost it to a guy. But that one I know I can do more. That if I can save that money, I'm going to save. I recall one time I was given money, really plenty money, to give to a gentleman. And that money, oh my God, will transform generation. And at that moment, I lie you not, I was living in a 3-bedroom. There was no bed. I lie not. There was no bed. In fact, I barely eat. But I was giving that money to go and give to the gentleman. I call up the guy. I say, I have this money to give to you. No, it doesn't start from there. I mean, at that moment, trust me, there were temptation, there were thought. Now, the state of that house can influence how you see the money. You see why we're talking about the state of your heart? Can influence. Now you're saying, hey, I can buy bed, I can buy TV, I can buy this, and what you are buying is pleasure. Now you will lose reputation. You didn't talk about it. You cannot get what we call a trusted heart. There are many voices. They started moving. I was quiet. I look at the future and I look at that moment. I said, for the fact that this money has passed through me, means that more money will pass through me. Oh my God. And I heard it in my spirit, my inner voice. That's why we ask you to tune into your inner strength. Because once you tune outside, you are disengaged. But when you tune into your inner strength, the wisdom of your heart will judge properly with confidence, because you live in abundance, you live in vast, in ocean. So what happened? I took that money to the gentleman. The gentleman said, go and keep it. Maybe he just wanted to test what I was coming my heart. I kept the money. Was it painful? It was painful. Was I hungry? I was hungry. Did I lie down on the floor? Yes, I did. Did I trek? I trekked. What happened? He gave us, while I was keeping that money, another money was given to him again. And the people did not know that I was still with the first money. So eventually I said, you have another money that have been sent to you. Can I bring both of them? He said, bring them. I now handed it over to them. He said, you are the first person that has taken the pen to return this money. Of all the people that have been given this opportunity, I lie you not, that person, we are still together. I mean, he comes to my office and we have remained in that bond of trust. Why? Because pain is prosperity. Where there is no prosperity, go and check. There's laziness. That's what this good Bible says, something very powerful. You see, not slothful in business, fervent in the spirit, serving the Lord. Yeah. Not slothful. Have you seen how scriptures are so powerful? If we continue to deploy scriptures and dig hold on the scripture, the evidence of shallow mind is attachment to comfort and disdain for discomfort. Every time you refuse to take that decision and postpone it, you see, procrastination is buying into comfort and is deadly. Procrastination is buying into comfort and is deadly. The shallow mind lives in a distorted reality, unable to embrace uncertainty and cope with different options without complaining. The shallow mind is interested in making judgment swiftly, always fast concluding, that ignored. That's where label comes in. This is small. Oh, until I get to this, I can't do that. I don't want to be in a shallow mind, because I will see pain as punishment. Have you asked yourself a question? What if you find yourself in a sick bed? Can you say that this sick bed is a source of enrichment, is a source of inspiration, is a turnaround moment for me? What if you lose your job? Will you call that job a painful experience or an advancer? What if you lose your relationship? Will you just say life is unfair? Or will you say, hey, this is an expandable moment in my life? What if the landlord gives you a quick notice? Do you condemn the action and you say, you know what, you have inspired me to do more in life because I think I need to be a landlord or a landlady? Have they stolen something from you? You just say, you know what, I have enriched people because that's my seed and my gift. That's what we're saying. Begin to convert discomfort as a mechanism for advancement, for increase, for expansion. You lose a relationship, I've lost one. And my lovable heart have expanded. My non-judgmental life, in fact, my not expecting anything that has given me some level of peace of mind and tranquility is as a result because I did a reversal thinking and gratitude. I don't know where state you are. Can you look at that and befriend that uncertainty, that uncomfortable moment and say, you know what, I befriend you? You will see the energy release is quite different. And that's what I call light creation. Once you become light, ease, peaceful, fluid, you will see the fluidity will begin to form a different you. And your personality begin to change, character begin to change. Your audacity will begin to expand. I invite you to a higher life. Thank you for everyone who is here. Thank you, Abigail, for always being here. Thank you, Faith. It's 1 hour. If I were you, take the link, send it to people who are going through stuff. Let them go through it and know that they are better than where they are now. We're still on our radio. You can tune in with us if you check in our website, check in our handle, social media handle accounts, so our Standout or Patrick Uduma. You follow what we're doing. It's amazing. We're redefining standard. We're challenging status quo. And we're inviting you to a good life, knowing that your natural state is love and goodness. See you next time. Thank you, Abigail. Thank you for everyone